over the years, the look of your art has changed, shifted, and also developed.
Yeah.
What would you say was a main cause for that pivot?
I mean, just growing older. I mean, and taking the time. Like I went from being 24 and painting, you know, two to three times a week, maybe, or making limited amount of artworks every month or every year, however you want to say it. And I started making artwork every single day, you know what I mean? Or I started working in a realm, like I managed an artist studio for a few years. So being around it, being exposed to it, visiting the galleries, dropping off the artwork, installing the work, seeing how something's hung a certain way, working with different materials, like it all kind of just starts to get the juices flowing, like my brain just started working. I started seeing the potential of what could be done or what could be created. And I also would walk into some galleries and I'd see things that were on the wall, and it's just one of those things where you're like, if that's on the wall, I could be on the wall. Like I didn't go to school. I didn't do any of the things that, one would generally say you need to do to become an artist, or a successful artist in the sense of the world. And so kind of like breaking down those boundaries and breaking down those walls for myself, as far as like really getting close to artwork and really seeing, what went into creating a work of art that would go on a gallery wall or go into a client's home or be purchased for any amount of money at all. It just led me to realize the potential that I had the potential, you know what I mean, that I could develop myself. And so, just working in as many different ways as possible. If you have an idea, you work the idea however it speaks to you. Like if it's the media, and that's again goes back to me saying like that I'll maybe have an idea for a painting, but I'll make a sculpture of it, right? Like if you have an idea, develop it as many different ways as possible. Because one, you never know which one's going to be the actual idea that sticks, or you never know how something's going to inform something else, right? Like, and that's the main thing, is like art's information for me, right? It's like for me, it's questions that you have. So as I develop as a human being, and maybe some of those questions are answered, or maybe some of them aren't answered, which leads me to make more artwork about those questions that I need to have answered. Then it all kind of steamrolls, at a certain point. And I definitely talk about this a lot with people that like I have conversations with all the day, like other artists, about the consistency of making work. It's like I'm not one of those people that are going to say the brain is a computer or the brain's a muscle that you have to exercise, but I'm definitely going to say that like the more consistently you make work, or you make art, or you think about making art, or you're around art, your ideas start to become more refined and more established. You spend enough time doing it, and you start to develop. That's the baseline for me.
You mentioned something that I thought stood out: being an artist yourself, but then also taking the time out of your day to be an artist assistant.
Yeah.
How would you say that has crafted or molded you today, and how would you say it may have influenced your art or how you work in the art world?
I mean, it gave me a taste of the thing that I always thought I wanted prior to actually achieving it myself. So the artist I worked for was pretty established. He created large scale sculptures. He had a functioning studio that was very like the production side of art making. It was like there wasn't as much emotion and feeling that went into creating the work as it was like here's a certain set of steps that we take to get this artwork to where it needs to be, and then it's out the door. And it's like so it definitely gave me this idea about like how a studio runs, how to run a studio, materials that you could use, the way that you interact with clients, the way that you interact with collectors, the way that, it's like it kind of just gave me this whole backdoor, like kind of like peek behind the magic curtain, which was funny to me because a lot of the years I grew up, art. I mean, you could say it's a magical thing. It's a lot of different things, but I would say that like as a young artist, you always want these things, but you never know quite what you're asking for. And so to be able to peek back behind it and to work in it and to see it and to see really what it is. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's a couple of normal guys. It's definitely usually a guy with a lot of good ideas creating, you know, work, or a person. I don't want to say a guy, but it's somebody creating work based off of ideas that they have, and they're human.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
humanity to it. You know what I
do.
mean? And so being able to like peek back behind the curtain and see the humanity to it, I definitely think it affected me. It taught me that like being infallible is okay, or like being fallible is okay. Like being, you know, making mistakes, doing things incorrectly is okay, and then picking them up and being able to fix those mistakes and continuing on and creating work. It's not this just this like, uh, you know, it's not just, it doesn't just pop out of nowhere. You know what I mean?